Hello. Um, Today I'm going to give a little lesson and describe what the definition is with an initiative, between an initiative and referendum, how they were created, maybe compare and contrast and pros and cons between the two, and how it relates to the Arizona State Constitution. So thank you for joining and listening. So an initiative is a process that allows citizens to propose laws or a constitutional amendment if they get enough votes to sign. If they get enough voters to sign that petition, then a proposed law is placed on the ballot for a public vote, but they need to get the signatures first to propose it. So a referendum is a process that allows voters to approve or reject laws. These are already laws that are passed by legislation, and it gives the citizens the power to review and potentially overturn legislative decisions. So initiatives and referendums are created through a process that allows citizens to propose legislature or a constitutional amendment with a signature collection or by vote. So the initiative process starts with a proposal and ends being put on a ballot. So the proposal is drafted by citizens on a proposed law or amendment. So then the supporters need to gather signatures from registered voters. So in Arizona, they need to gather like 10% of voter signatures and 15% of voter signatures for a constitutional amendment. Then the signatures need to be verified by the Secretary of State. Then it can appear on the ballot in the next general election to be approved or rejected by the voters. So the referendum process is when legislature has already passed a law, and this is to petition for referendum by the citizens because they can disagree with this law, but they have to gather enough signatures to be placed on the ballot for approval or rejection by voters by voting. So they need 5% of signatures from voters to get this to be put on, the law to be put on hold, and then the voters can decide by the way they vote. So the voters can reject or appeal or approve the law. So it has to be rejected or approved by voting on the ballot. So to compare and contrast the initiative versus a referendum is they both are started by citizens. So to contrast it, an initiative is created they are creating laws to amend the Constitution. So this can introduce new policies or new ideas. A referendum is something that has already been passed, and they want to approve or reject this law by voting. So they're reacting to an already existing legislation and trying to block a recently passed law. So the pros of an initiative: it empowers the citizens to propose laws. It encourages public involvement and awareness. And it allows reform if legislature is unwilling to act. So the cons of that, though, are it's a complex issue for voters. It can be very complex, and voters may not understand. It could be expensive, and it may favor the wealthy, and it can lead to conflicting or poorly written laws because maybe someone doesn't understand. So a referendum pro is it can act as checks and balances on legislative power, and that's important. It can give the citizens a voice. It can encourage lawmakers to consider public opinion much better than in other states. So the cons are it gathering signatures. So they could gather signatures, and it might cost a lot. They could reduce participation in voting because maybe the voters are tired and they don't understand, and it could delay important legislation. So, how does direct democracy connect with the Arizona state constitution? Well, let's find out. So, Arizona explicitly provides for initiatives and referendums that reflect the principle of direct democracy. So, what is direct democracy? It is where citizens have a direct role in making or approving laws rather than relying only on the elected representatives. So, this can give power directly to the people through vote to bypass legislature. So this can help in ensure that government accountability and citizen participation, which is keys in a democratic system. All right, so Arizona was one of the last states to join the Union in 1912. And this was during the Progressive Era. And the Progressive Era was thinking, to help the Arizona the Arizona Constitution was influenced by the Progressive Era's thinking. So it helps emphasize that the belief in the government is really for the people, by the people, and of the people. So it's very important, and this just reflects how their thinking was to help the state constitution. So thank you very much for listening. Bye.